Hey guys, it's Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, and today I am also joined by my co-host, Sunita Allister. Hi Sunita, how are you doing?
I'm good, Prince. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, and I am excited to get into this news from Vonage. So, for you guys, the viewers and audience that are watching, we're going to talk about an article which I have here on my tablet that says Vonage announces HIPAA compliant SMS and video capabilities. This article it looks like it was released on September the 16th of 2021, and I'll also have a link to this article in the description for you guys below that want to see the original source. But I'm going to read a little bit of this article to you guys, and then Sunita and I are going to kind of chat a little bit about some of the stuff in here. But before we get into that, for those of you who may or may not know, we represent Vonage. We work with Vonage all the time. Sunita, you probably work with Vonage on what? Probably 6 to 10 quotes, probably just a week or maybe more
Yeah.
of people that are interested in Vonage. We also got Vonage President's Club for 2020 earlier this year, so we're no stranger to Vonage. We're very familiar with the platform, but this is actually a very big advancement in the evolution of their software or solution, if you will. So let me read a little bit from this, and then we're going to comment on this a bit. It says, this week, cloud communications solutions provider Vonage revealed the Vonage Communications Platform, also known as VCP, will now have HIPAA compliant messaging capabilities. The new features will allow healthcare professionals to send secure communications through multiple channels, supporting the growing demand for telemedical services among patients. It also further says down below, the world of healthcare is changing since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic as patients and providers adapted and shifted to telehealth solutions, said Jay Bellissimo, Chief Operating Officer of Vonage. So that's their COO. And he further said, as we emerge from the pandemic, patients will continue to expect seamless, convenient digital experiences on their time and preferred channels. By combining the Vonage video and SMS APIs, providers have the power to build HIPAA compliant patient communication journeys offering security and personalized care at every touch point. Before you and I chat, Sunita, and we talk about the components of this, or actually we can do this now, let's jump into some bullet points, but I wanted to throw out there for you guys, the audience, the viewers who are watching, up until this point, the main two providers that Sunita and I only really knew of that offered what you could call truly HIPAA compliant video meetings platforms and or SMS text messaging was Zoom and also Ring Central. So commonly whenever we've talked to clients that really were like, Prince, it's got to be HIPAA compliant, no ifs, ands, or buts on the video meetings and on the text messaging with our clients and staff, we almost always had to lean towards like Zoom Phone or Ring Central. But it looks like now not so much. It looks like we've got a wider option from a provider that, for those of you who frequent the channel, you know that we use regularly and recommend and trust. I want to jump into some of these components really quick. And then Sunita, I'd like to hear from you too. Any commentary you've got or any customer examples of where some of these features may have been beneficial or whatnot. So the components, as it says here, it says new HIPAA compliant capabilities available for the Vonage Communications Platform include the first one is automated appointment experience. Manage appointment scheduling easily by way of mobile appointment check-in and pre and post visit text alerts. You want to elaborate on that a little bit, Sunita? Like, what's your thoughts on that in regards to the whole like appointment management by way of text?
Well, most of my clients, like in recent days, even I got the queries that if the provider will be able to help them to get some messaging facility, which is going to be some automated text, which their customers can receive. Let's say if it's the healthcare facility, their customers or the patients can get the appointment messages or text on time. And if it's some other law companies or some just take any other example, if it's
Yeah,
some corporate field, everybody needs to get updated because the life has become so busy. They need the reminders. Even you and I, we forget everything, you know that. So
yeah.
we need some reminders. So it's very helpful these days.
Yeah. For me, I usually just use Alexa to remind me about appointments, but obviously, this that Vonage is offering is much more advanced than an Alexa.
Hmm.
Let's look at the next one here, and I think it actually ties into the first one. It says patient relationship management. Organizations can provide a higher standard of care with convenient mobile prescription notices, medical reminders, and important follow-ups. This one kind of ties into the first one, but I'll give an example before I pass the ball to you. I actually worked with a company that was they were a pharmacy. They were a very large pharmacy that had 3 locations in their city. And one of the issues that they had was their receptionist was the person that was responsible for sending out manual emails and manual text messages for any prescription refills that folks needed. So if they prescribed, say, somebody a prescription that was a 30-day supply, this person had like this kind of jerry rig like calendar thing with all these different people in a Gmail or an Outlook calendar where he or she would get an automated reminder to, oh, this person's prescription for whatever this pain medicine
Yeah.
is coming up. Go ahead and remind them. But if I'm understanding this correctly, this looks like it's not just for prescriptions, it's for everything. It can be appointment reminders, prescription reminders, follow-up reminders. It could even be a physical therapist reminder for somebody that needs physical therapy every 60 to 90 days or something. Have you, Sunita, come across any folks in telehealth that you've worked with in regards to this particular feature, or what are your thoughts on this particular feature? Because this is new to Vonage as far as I'm aware.
Well, it happens every other day that people, especially from the healthcare departments, they ask me this thing that if I'll be able to get them some option to get some text messaging facility, which can just help them to, give the patient some reminders regarding their medicine, regarding the appointments. So it's becoming a very important part of the days of people, you can say, or the lives as well, because it's a very often asked questions. People, they do need help regarding this feature.
Yeah. The other nice thing about this feature, just to elaborate with a real life example that I've got, and I just thought of this. So we'll use an example. I have a dentist office that my daughter uses. My daughter has braces, and the dentist only does the checkups for folks with braces, even though she's open all week long, all month long. She only does the checkups for people with braces on every first Friday of the month. Now, to send out the reminders and the time slot availabilities for each patient, she sends these out using WhatsApp. But the way she sends it out, and I'm not going to mention the company name, obviously, the way she sends it out is in a group. So I can see everybody's name. I can see everybody else who I don't know who they are, who's got an appointment on what day and time and all of that. That obviously is a major HIPAA regulations violation. So
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
think the nice thing about this patient relationship management platform, I would assume that it sends out notifications separately and more personalized so that, I might get my notification about my dentist appointment. You might get your notification about your dentist appointment, but we don't know who each other is in the grand scheme of things and what the other person needs or what it is. They're completely separated type of incidences, is what I'm thinking. So, do you
Yeah,
have any? Oh, I'm sorry. What were you about to say?
let's take this Google Calendars reminder, for example, because it's the most personalized reminder you can ever get. But it's a very, unique and very helpful thing. I've sometimes I won't say that it's just like you just get so busy into typing emails and making the calls and all, and sometimes if we are just talking and discussing things, it just reminds you. So it's like some personalized thing which reminds me of like as you were just talking, that yes, having so many people in group, I would have quit that group honestly. So yes, the personalized thing, it matters the most.
Yeah. And what you said is actually funny because I always see all of the different messages in the group. And after I've said what I need to say, even today, even though today, because the first Friday is coming up here, well, the first Friday is today. Yeah. Because my wife actually took my daughter to that appointment a little while ago. The first Friday of the month isn't it? At least I thought so. Yeah. The first Friday of the month is today. And even after my wife and my daughter have left to that appointment and I already confirmed the appointment, I'm still getting all of these messages in the group of other people's appointments and what's going on with them. And not only is that their private data that I shouldn't be seeing, like I don't want to see that to begin with popping up on my phone and driving me nuts. So, anyways, so the next thing that they have here on the list of other new HIPAA compliant capabilities and features on the Vonage communications platform, it says situation readiness. Ensure staff and patients are alerted in real time during time critical circumstances. Organizations can stay prepared with a secure text message solution that ensures targeted messages are sent and received. So So this one is the flip side. It looks like this is a similar feature, but this is for internal use. This is for like the CEO or the medical director of a facility or the office manager or whoever is managing these company notifications or messages. It looks like this is specifically for notifications and things for the people internally. What are your thoughts on that? And have you come across any customers that you've dealt with, whether they were Vonage customers or not, that they really needed something for like internal use to be able to notify staff of things?
It also happens very often. I mean, people they do ask me because sometimes if there are just more than two or three users, they need some personal interaction. And if it's with the higher management, they need something very reliable and very trustworthy, where they can just share their important stuff, documentation, and everything. So it is a very important part as well. Again, as we are talking to the healthcare departments, healthcare organizations, or if it's the corporate world, if it's the law firms. So it's a very important part.
Yeah. The other thing too is you just mentioned about people at the top, like the upper level management, and that got me thinking. If we go back to the WhatsApp scenario that like my dentist is using, hopefully she's not watching this video. I'm so sorry,
I
but
hope so.
but if we go back to the scenario of the WhatsApp method that my dentist is using, she can't really use that with all of the staff because, for example, there may be some information that I want to share with you and somebody else in the group in our team that's not privy to somebody else. And I don't even necessarily mean from a confidential standpoint. For example, something that me, you, and the sales team may need to share back and forth in internal text messages regarding sales. Our content blogger and web developer and our video editor, like him and her aren't going to care. Like that doesn't have anything to do with what they're doing. So it's not only confidential, it's irrelevant for their job description. Moving to the next one. Digital surveys. It says collect valuable patient feedback and continue to elevate their medical experience. This is an interesting one because and I don't know how this works. I would assume it's over SMS, but what I am assuming this is a way to send out a survey through text message to a patient list or client list to just in the idea of collecting data. For example, if it were me, it could be as simple as sending out a message to all of my patients saying, this is just to learn more information about you guys. For those of you who, are our customers, which in this case is all of them, what day of the week do you find tends to be the best day for you to have an appointment or whatever? And then they can collect data that way to be able to see what the trend is or what the majority kind of think. Any scenarios? I've never personally worked too many scenarios that I can think of in the medical sector where somebody wanted surveys. So I think this opens up some doors. But are there any that you've worked that you can think of where somebody hoped to have something like that where they could just get an opinion from their customers like that?
Prince, if we talk about like overall scenarios, so I come from a background where I've worked all my life in the customer services, and a feedback and some surveys, they are life. They are the important part of your job.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the healthcare departments, yes, people once or twice I got the questions like within this few months that if they can just arrange something like that where people just can give feedbacks, and I was like, okay, I have to think about that, because I you might remember that we had a discussion about it as well, but we were unable to help them out with it because we were just only to provide them the services on phone and everything like that, the mobile app and all. So yes, it is a very important part, even if it's some other organization where people deal with customers all the time, all day long, and it totally between the customers and the people from the company organization. It's very important to get the feedback, to get to know that what they actually want, what works well for them, as well as for the staff members. So it's
Yeah.
internally, externally, both ends. It matters the most, I think, because
Yeah.
it just helps you create and build a system which can work user friendly, you're good for your employees, employee friendly, you can say, to make some good environment externally or internally as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like what you said because, well, the motto that we always have here, Sunita. I'm a true believer in don't sell people stuff. I don't like to sell people stuff. I like to just listen to people, hear what they don't like, hear what they really like or what they want, and then, as the saying goes, just give them what they want. That's the easiest sale, is to just listen to somebody and give them what they want. And I think this is interesting, this digital surveys feature, because this gives, through the Vonage platform, this gives clients, and not even just medical clients, this could be anybody. This could be law firms, this could be insurance companies, it could be any type of business realistically. It gives them a way to be able to not only learn more about their customer, but just ask them what they want and be able to see that data through a survey. The other interesting thing is that people want to be heard. They want to feel like their opinion matters. I mean, this is the reason why everybody loves social media, because it's like one of the main outlets where people can go and share their opinion, no matter how ridiculous, politically too far to the left or right, or just completely absurd or totally biased it may be. It's still an outlet where they can share their opinion. And I think this kind of, from within the corporate confines, gives people the ability to do the same. Before I move to the last bullet point, you have anything else you want to say on digital surveys?
No, I think we should move to the next point.
Okay. The last one is authentication, and I was actually really looking forward to this one when I saw it on the list. This says authenticate patients and ensure privacy and security using Vonage's trusted two-factor authentication tools. Two things I want to say about this. Number one, for anybody watching this video, you know now security and two-factor authentication and preventing being hacked, whether it's your bank account or your email or whatever it is so much more important nowadays than ever before. And then you flip it on its head, you look at the flip side of the coin, and we're talking the medical field, so it's even more important to know who the person is that you're either texting back and forth with or that you're having a video meeting with. Quick little story to put it into context. For you guys, the audience, and for Sunita. I actually worked an account, this was back in 2020. I worked an account that was a 6-location, I want to say there were 168, 6-location, 168 employee mental health and wellness company that was, I believe they were based out of Florida, even though they had offices up and down the East Coast. And we looked at like 7 different providers, and Vonage was their pick after we looked at all the different demos and all of the different providers and options over the course of about 3 months. And one of their biggest concerns, I'll never forget, I was sitting in an actual demo with the entire board on a virtual call. It was like 12, 13 people on a virtual call. And the CEO, she raised her hand in the meeting and she asked Vonage, she said, question, how do we know that if somebody text messages us to discuss, mental health and wellness or psychiatric consulting, how do we know if they are who they say they are? And that's a big deal. So I'm curious to know from you, Sunita, any thoughts on that, or have you worked with any customers where that was a concern, where how do they know if the person on the video is who they say they are, the person in the text message is who they say they are, before they potentially share super confidential information, somebody's healthcare information?
Yes, because people out there, they call it the caller ID. They still remember it, this thing with this name. So they usually ask me about whoever is going to call me. Am I going to know that who is calling? Is there going to be some name highlighted or something like that? So that is a concern, and it is a very serious concern, which is important. I do agree with my customers, because they have a complete right to know that if it's a very important detail which they are supposed to share with some certain call on certain message, they have to make sure that it's going to the right person. So I think it is a very important feature, and if Vonage is going to offer this thing, I think that it is a very huge step they are taking, and I totally am very happy for my customers that now they are going to get on a very good platform which is going to secure their personal details, plus the details of their clients, their patients, and everybody they are dealing with.
Yeah. Final question before we wrap this up. It doesn't say in the article or anything that I have been able to look up, but do you think that this feature is going to be an included feature for folks that are on the Vonage Communications platform, or do you think this is going to be an add-on, like to get the HIPAA compliant video versus the regular video you have to pay extra? The only reason I ask this before you answer is, like, for example, unless this has changed, I remember Zoom Phone with their HIPAA compliant video, I was told you have to pay extra. Like, there's Zoom video, and then if you want the HIPAA compliant version of the video, you've got to pay extra. What are your thoughts on, do you think this is free or an add-on, and do you think it should be free or an add-on? It's a two-part question.
Okay, so I'm firstly going to talk through a customer's perspective. So And obviously, you know that we both take our customer sides first, and we think
Yeah.
like from their perspective first. So it shouldn't be an add-on. I think it should be among all the features they offer. But still, if they say that it's an add-on, I'm glad that finally they have something to offer our customers, which is more reliable and which they can relate and which they can use to secure their data, to have something which they can call it some updated system or some updated, VoIP services.
Yeah.
And because we know that Vonage is one of our top best, but if they offer something which the other providers who are actually on the top one or two or three level, then Vonage is taking a very huge step towards
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Now you got me curious to wonder what other providers do or don't have HIPAA compliant SMS or video. The only other thing I wonder in wrapping up is in the article it doesn't say anything about MMS. So I wonder again, this article wasn't written by Vonage, and again to you guys the viewers, I'm going to have a link to the article source from where we saw this news so you can read it and see it for yourself. The article just says Vonage announces HIPAA compliant SMS/video capabilities. I don't know if that means MMS as well, like photos and video, or if it's just not in the title, but I'd be curious to know if MMS is part of that, or maybe it requires some sort of authentication that's not able to be done. I don't know. But anyways, as always, Sunita, thank you so much for being here and for your input with me and with the audience. For those of you who are watching, as I mentioned earlier in the video, we represent Vonage. We work with them literally every single day. So if you're interested in seeing a demo, learning more about Vonage, or getting access to our special pricing, I'm more than happy to hook you up with Sunita and our team to see if Vonage makes sense for your business. And if it does, she can put you in touch with the powers that be to go down that process of seeing if it makes sense. If you found this video interesting or helpful, please go ahead and give it a like. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel because you're watching the #1 channel on YouTube on everything business phone systems, business internet service, tips, and advice for making the best buying decisions and even potentially saving yourself a little bit of money along the way. As always, this is Prince Rich with Rich Technology Group, your go-to guy for the best deals on business phone and internet service in the United States. We'll talk to you again in the next video.